The second half of the 2023 MLB season has officially begun after an action-packed All-Star break in Seattle. LSU superstars Paul Skeens and Dylan Cruz went 1-2 in the draft. Vladdy won the Home Run Derby, followed by the National League's first victory in the All-Star game since 2012. While this was a fun little intermission for fans and players to enjoy, it's time to get serious again, as the playoff race is very tight in both leagues. While teams like the Baltimore Orioles and Cincinnati Reds have been praised by the national media as well as this channel for their quick turnarounds, there's another franchise that nobody is talking about that deserves just as much, if not more hype, and that is the Arizona Diamondbacks. It's hard to believe that in 2021, the D-backs finished the year with a 52-110 record, dead last in the entire league. This team was walking a fine line between bad and historically bad, which is why it makes zero sense that less than 2 years later in 2023, they have one of the best records in the National League. They're on pace to win 92 games, and they're threatening the Dodgers, who have won this division 9 out of the last 10 years for the NL West crown. This type of turnaround for a franchise in this short a time period is completely unheard of. Theoretically, the 2023 Arizona Diamondbacks should not be good at all, but they are. And we're going to break down why that's the case. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you're new, it really means a lot, and let's get straight to it. Following the Dodgers' sweep over Arizona in the 2017 NLDS, the franchise has since failed to get back to the postseason. 2018 was a very interesting year for this team. Their three most valuable players that season in terms of WAR were 6-time All-Star and future MVP Paul Goldschmidt, 5-time All-Star and former Cy Young winner Zack Greinke, and 2-time All-Star Patrick Corbin, while they also had solid role players like AJ Pollock and David Peralta. Although there was no shortage of talent on this roster, their final record sat at a mediocre 82-80, third place in the division. Following this season, the front office felt like the team needed to head in a different direction. In December 2018, they traded homegrown perennial All-Star Paul Goldschmidt to the St. Louis Cardinals. That same offseason, AJ Pollock signed a 4-year deal with the division rival Dodgers, while a third homegrown star, Patrick Corbin, headed to the Washington Nationals on a 6-year, $140 million deal. And just like that, in one offseason, a lot of their talent is now gone. But because baseball is a weird sport, the D-backs were actually better in 2019, thanks to this list of hitters, which includes Christian Walker and Ketel Marte, two guys to remember for the future, while the starting rotation overall put up league average numbers. Though the team was better than 2018, an 85-77 record wasn't good enough to make them a contender. Despite this, they made a few notable moves in the middle of the season worth mentioning. First, they traded Zack Greinke to the Astros, but more importantly, they traded prospect Jazz Chisholm to the Miami Marlins in exchange for pitcher Zach Gallen, and drafted Corbin Carroll in the first round of the 2019 draft. Gallen and Carroll are two more names to keep in mind as this timeline progresses. In the offseason, they signed former World Series MVP Madison Bumgarner to a 5-year deal, just in time for the 2020 COVID year. Their core of hitters during the 60-game season was pretty much the same. In the starting rotation, Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly both pitched fantastic, while Weaver, Mad Bum, and Robbie Ray were getting rocked day in and day out. The D-backs finished in last place in the NL West at 25-35, but this last place finish was nothing compared to what happened in 2021. In the first full season since the pandemic, the Diamondbacks were absolute garbage, finishing the year 52-110 as mentioned earlier. These are the notable pitching and hitting stats for Arizona that year, as they rank near the bottom third of the league in almost everything. Their main core of hitters dealt with injuries all year long, and they weren't very productive when they were on the field. The pitching was much worse. Here's a list of pitchers to throw 40 or more innings for them that season. Out of the 9 players on this list, all 9 had an ERA above 4. Including Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly, who both took a step back following their good 2020 season. Basically anything that could go wrong did go wrong, and it didn't help that they played in a division with two absolute powerhouse teams, the Padres, who were great before they collapsed in the second half, and the Rockies, who weren't very good but still way better than Arizona. 2021 was basically hell for anyone associated with this organization. The entire season was an absolute shit show, plain and simple. But little did they know, they were much closer to turning this whole thing around than anyone thought. The interesting thing about this franchise that's different from most rebuilds is they didn't really make any huge moves that all of a sudden gave them a phenomenal roster. Most of the pieces they needed to become a winning team were already there. It was just a matter of the players figuring it out for themselves, and that's exactly what they did. In 2022, Merrill Kelly and Zach Gallen both bounced back and pitched great. While in the lineup, Christian Walker absolutely exploded, playing almost every game of the season while leading the team in home runs, RBIs, walks, and OPS. Dalton Varsho, who was drafted by Arizona in 2017, broke out in his third MLB season as well. They finished in 4th place in the NL West at 74-88, which is still not a good record, but a 22-game improvement from the year prior, thus making it somewhat of a good season. Following 2022, the D-backs traded Varsho to the Blue Jays as Lourdes Gurriel Jr. was one of the 2 players they got in return. And just like that, believe it or not, the rebuild was pretty much complete. As of the 2023 All-Star break, the D-backs are currently 52-39, tied for first in the division. Just to put into perspective how much better they are this season than 2 years ago, they've already matched their win total from that 162-game season in just 91 games. So even if they lost their next 71 games in a row to end the year, it still would not be worse than their 2021 record. A rebuild like this is extraordinary and just doesn't happen. And like I said, there was no massive $300 million deal they dished out or blockbuster trade that really shook up the league. The natural progression that the players got from MLB experience was simply enough. But to give a better explanation as to why the team is so much better this year, I've broken it down into 4 reasons. First, Corbin Carroll. I told you earlier in the video to remember this name because he is without a doubt the biggest difference maker for this franchise that they didn't have in 2021. He made his debut in 2022 but didn't play enough games to be considered a rookie. With 2023 being his first official rookie year, he is the best player in this lineup. He's tied for the highest wins above replacement on the team, tied with the most home runs, has the highest batting average, and the most stolen bases. He's one of the fastest players in the entire league, and is on pace to become the 2nd rookie in MLB history to be a member of the 30-30 club, with 2012 Mike Trout being the only one. If it wasn't for Ronald Acuna Jr. having a monster season in Atlanta, Carroll would arguably be the National League MVP this season at just 22 years old. He's been the spark plug that this franchise needed to turn things around, so I think it's safe to say that the Diamondbacks get an A+ for this 2019 draft pick. Reason number 2, Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly. These two are arguably the best 1-2 punch in baseball, as they have both taken their game to another level, especially Gallen, who has the highest odds to win the National League Cy Young this season. He leads Major League Baseball in wins with 11, and made his first career All-Star game this season where he started for the National League. If Arizona has to play in a best 2 out of 3 wildcard round in the postseason, I feel bad for whichever team has to face these two in back-to-back games. Reason number 3, the bullpen. They've got 7 really solid arms holding things down late in games, as the ERA is much cleaner than past years. Overall, the bullpen ERA is the best it's been since 2018 at a 4 flat, which is respectable against the rest of the league. This may not be the sexiest bullpen with the biggest names, but it doesn't matter. They get the job done. Lastly, reason number 4 is the role players. You can't say enough about guys like Christian Walker and Ketel Marte. Both guys have been with this franchise since 2017 and haven't seen playoff baseball since that short postseason run. They've been with this franchise through everything, and both of them are the unsung heroes of this Diamondbacks rebuild. I never see these guys getting any credit, but it's about time they were recognized. Walker is putting together another great year, where he's on pace for a 30 home run, 100 RBI season, while Ketel Marte, who is the team leader in hits, is putting up great numbers as well. Then there's the new addition, Lourdes Gurriel Jr., having the best season of his career, where he represented the Diamondbacks this past week in his first ever All-Star game, along with 23-year-old Geraldo Perdomo, who made the team as an injury replacement and has made a significant impact on this 2023 roster as well. Take these 4 role players into consideration, plus the NL Rookie of the Year favorite Corbin Carroll, plus the NL Cy Young favorite Zach Gallen, alongside Merrill Kelly, plus a good bullpen, and that's how you explain the success that Arizona has had thus far, completing one of the most low-key rebuilds you might ever see. The 2023 Arizona Diamondbacks are a team that should not be as good as they are. If they finish at their current pace, their 92-70 record would be a 40-game improvement from the 52-win team just 2 years ago, with majority of the key players being exactly the same. It'll be very interesting to see how they play in the second half and if they're for real. But even if they somehow fall apart in these next 71 games, they've still shown the rest of the league that World Series contention in Arizona may be closer than we think. How far do you think the Diamondbacks go this season? Let me know in the comments below. Like the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. I'm going to be making MLB content like this all season long, so don't miss out. Thank you for watching, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.